Welcome to Section 2 of the tutorial for creating an interactive Excel dashboard. In this section, we will be creating the Calculation Division worksheet. Open the Excel file that you saved at the end of Section 1. Remember that these 5 sections need to be completed in order. This section has 4 steps. We will be working on the Calculations worksheet for the divisions. We will be formatting the division pivot table and inserting a slicer. We will be creating data for the chart we will be creating and formatting. Finally, we will be creating dynamic text strings for headings. Click on the pivot table in the Calculation Division worksheet that you created in Section 1. On the Design tab, click on Report Layout. In the drop-down box, click Show in Tabular Form. Click on the pivot table again. On the Design tab, click on Grand Totals. In the drop-down box, click on Off for Rows and Columns. Again, click on the pivot table. On the Pivot Table Analyze tab, click on Insert Slicer. In the drop-down box, click on Division, click OK. Drag the slicer's bottom frame up to hide the Office Supplies button, the one with the error. Now we have created the slicer we will need in a later step. Now we need to create the data we will be using in a chart. Type year in cell C5 and current in cell C6. Case does matter, so be sure to capitalize the first letter of current. Next, list the regions in cells I4 through I8. Type sales in cell J3, max in cell K3, and average in cell L3. Click in cell J4. Go to the formula bar and type equal SUMIFS parent. You will see the formula being built in the cell J4 as well as where you are typing in the formula bar. Navigate to the Transactions table. Remember, you have not clicked Enter or OK, and click in cell J2. Then hit Control plus Shift plus arrow down. Next, add a comma to the end of your formula. Click in cell B2 of the Data worksheet and hit Control plus Shift plus arrow down. Add another comma to the end of your formula. See that we are building that formula. Do not click Enter or OK at the end of anything until I tell you to do it. We are still building this long formula. Navigate back to the Calculation Division worksheet and click on cell C6. Hit F4 to make it absolute, meaning that you are fixing the location of that cell, that it will not change when you copy the formula to another cell. Add another comma to the end of your formula. Navigate to the Transactions table and click in cell F2. Then hit Control plus Shift plus arrow down. Add another comma to the end of your formula. Navigate back to the Calculation Division worksheet and click in cell B6. Hit F4 to make it absolute. Add another comma to the end of the formula. Navigate to the Transactions table and click in cell D2, then hit Control plus Shift plus arrow down. Add another comma to the end of your formula. Navigate back to the Calculation Division worksheet and click in cell I4. Add a $sign before the I in the last cell reference. Finally, add a close parentheses and hit Enter. Here's that formula enlarged so that you can see it better. That formula we just covered is pretty long and complex. You can copy and paste the formula from the student case handout into cell J4 in this worksheet. For this copy and paste process to work, you need to have used exactly the same cell addresses and names for everything in this tutorial. Also, to paste the formula into the cell, you need to click in cell J4 and then click in the formula bar and paste the formula into the formula bar itself rather than in the cell directly. Once you have that formula in cell J4, double-click the small box in the corner of cell J4 to copy the formula to the rest of the column. Enter the formula for the max column in cell K4, pointing and clicking on cell references as you go. You are using the functions if and max. This time, all the cell references are in the calculation division worksheet. You are telling Excel, if cell J4 contains the max value of the range J4 through J8, then display that number in the cell, otherwise display nothing. There are dollar signs around the cell addresses to fix those cell references in place when you copy the formula down to the other cells. Here is that formula enlarged so that you can see it better. Again, this formula is pretty long. You can copy and paste the formula from the student case handout into cell K4 in this worksheet. Also, to paste the formula into the cell, you need to click in cell K4 and then click in the formula bar and paste the formula into the formula bar itself rather than the cell directly. Next, double-click the small box in the corner of cell K4 to copy the formula to the rest of the column. Notice that the formula only returns a number in one of the rows because there is only one maximum. Enter the formula for the average column in cell L4 equal average, parenthesis, $J, $4, colon, $J, $8, end parenthesis, and copy the formula down the rest of the column. Again, those dollar signs fix the cell locations in the reference so they do not change when you copy the formula to other cells. Now we are going to format the numbers so they are easier to read. Select cells J4 through L8 and right-click. In the drop-down menu, click Format Cells. In the Format Cells dialog box, click on Accounting Number Format. Use the arrows to reduce decimal places to 0. The accounting number format puts a dollar sign at the far left of the cell and inserts a comma as the thousand separator. It also inserts 2 decimal places, but we will be using 0 decimal places here. Now we are going to be creating and formatting a chart of the data. Select cells I3 through L8. On the Insert tab, click the bar chart icon. In the drop-down menu, choose the clustered column chart. To make our chart easier to read, we want to remove the title, grid lines, series, and legend. Click on the unwanted elements of the chart and hit the Delete key on your keyboard to make them disappear. Now we are going to be making our chart even easier to read by making an average line that runs through the bar chart. Right-click on any column in your chart. In the drop-down box, click on Change Series Chart Type. In the dialog box, click on Average and then the Line Type Chart. Right-click on any column in your chart. In the drop-down box, click on Format Data Series. In the Format Data Point box, set Series Overlap and Gap Width to 100%. Click on the average line in your chart. Then in the Series Option box, set Width to 0.75 point and change Dash Type to Square Dot. Right-click on any column in your chart. In the drop-down box, click on Add Data Labels. We are going to change the blue data bars to a gray. Select your chart. On the Page Layout tab, click on Colors. In the drop-down box, click on Customize Colors. In the dialog box that appears, change Accent 1 to match Accent 3. Then name your custom color Dashboard Slicer. Your chart is complete. The dotted line represents the average sales, while the orange bar serves to draw attention to the maximum amount of sales. Now for the next step, creating dynamic text strings. These are headings for the data that change the words in the headings when the slicer buttons are clicked. In cell B10, type the formula equals sum J4 through J8. You can click on cell J4 and drag your mouse down to cell J8 instead of typing the formula again for the rest of the cells in that column. Then hit Enter. In cell C10, type formula equals total and a bunch of other characters. Those characters are in the notes to this slide. Here is that formula for cell C10 enlarged so that you can see it better. Again, it is listed in the notes for the PDF for the slide. And since that is another long formula, you can copy and paste the formula from the student case handout into cell C10 in this worksheet. Remember that to paste the formula into this cell, you need to click in cell C10 and then click in the formula bar and paste the formula into the formula bar itself rather than the cell directly. In cell C11, type the formula equal XLOOKUP, max, etc. Again, that's a long formula. Here's the formula for cell C11 enlarged so that you can see it better. Also note that I have put that formula in the notes in the PDF version of this tutorial. So that being a long formula, you can copy and paste the formula from the student case handout into cell C11 in this worksheet. Remember that you need to paste the formula into the cell. So to do that, you click in cell C11 and then click in the formula bar and paste the formula into the formula bar itself rather than the cell directly. That formula we just created in cell C11 was the heading for the most sales revenue. We will copy that cell to cell C12 to form the basis for the heading for the least sales revenue. To copy the formula in cell C11, click on cell C11, then hit Control C. Next, click in cell C12 and hit Control V. Change the copied formula by using the min function rather than max. Also change most to least. Change J5 to J4 wherever you see it in the formula. Change J9 to J8. Change I5 to I4. And change I9 to I8. Finally, change at B7 at and back to and B6 and. Here is the formula for cell C12 enlarged so that you can see it better. That's another long formula. You can copy and paste the formula from the student case handout into cell C12 in this worksheet. To paste the formula into this cell, you need to click in cell C12 and then click in the formula bar and paste the formula into the formula bar itself rather than the cell directly. The final action in this step is to type sales revenue by division in cell B1. The calculation division worksheet is complete. Click the different divisions on the slicer buttons to see how the data changes. We are now done with section 2 of this project. Please save your Excel file. You will be using the file for the next section of this project. This video was created by Dr. Wendy Tietz. Have a great day.